Hello everyone and welcome. It's Christine with Powder Crafts, and today I am going to just be coloring in this video. I'll be using an image from the Club La La Land's September 2019 kit. It comes with some of these lemonade themed dies and some lemonade themed stamps. We have Marci with lemons here, and she has a couple of sentiments. And then we have another stamp set with 3 little mice with different lemon products, and again, a couple more sentiments. They come on this red rubber like all together, so you do kind of need to cut them apart. I mean, I suppose you don't have to if you wanted to just stamp them all out and then cut them, but I just tend to cut them. And wow, watching it all sped up makes it look like that process is really easy. Not to say it's hard, but it definitely takes a lot longer than that. Okay, to start off, I am going to be stamping this image with some Copic friendly ink because I will be using Copic markers to color this in. So I am stamping her out on some 110-pound white cardstock. This particular cardstock is nothing fancy. It's from a local office supply store. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for Copic coloring if you are heavy-handed with your colors or love to do a lot of blending, because it tends to kind of bleed, especially certain colors. Reds and dark blues always tend to bleed really in not a good way. Speaking of bleeding, markers. When I color any image, I usually color my lightest colors to my darkest colors. And I do that because I find that if I do a darker color and then a lighter color, the darker color always ends up bleeding into the lighter area. When I do it this way, I don't tend to get that bleeding. I don't know. Well, I do know. I think it's because when I'm going from a lighter color into a darker color that's already been colored, I'm kind of pulling that darker color down. And I don't know if that's me or if that's the markers. I'm assuming it's me. So sometimes it'll ruin what I've got going. I find though that if I've already got the light color down and then I go into a dark color, I can control how far that dark color kind of goes towards that light color. And it's just easier for me to control. I don't know if there's a better way really to say that. With all that being said, you may or may not even wanted to know that, I went through and did her skin tones first. I did use a lot of markers for her skin tones, and I do end up writing them down. I use E04, E21, E00, and E000. And with her lips, I just used R27, nothing fancy. Her lips are really, really tiny area. I'm certainly not going to shade them. Going in with the lemons, I am going darkest to lightest. That is how I tend to color. Unless the color combination is going to be a little hard to blend, then I may lay down a layer of the lightest color and then go darkest to lightest again. Because sometimes some of my color combinations are forced, I guess you could say. They don't always make sense as far as like the Copic chart, but hey, I make it work because sometimes you got to make it work. There are too many markers and you got to work with what you got. So for her hair, because it is curly, I'm just kind of taking this dark brown marker, it's E29, and I'm just kind of going through and like following the design of her hair, like just wherever the drawn lines are. And on the top, like above her little hairband, I'm doing some flicking motions at the bottom and right there on the top. And then as I go down to the lightest color, again, I'm just doing that same sort of technique, just kind of following that dark brown lines with the next lightest color. And then I'll grab another color and I will do the same exact thing. And then I am going to be grabbing my favorite brown marker when using hair color in just a moment, and that's the E06. I love to bring that in because it's kind of got like a little bit of a red tinge to it, so it kind of looks like some auburn or some reddish highlights in the hair, and I just think it adds a little bit of something special. So I'll bring that in, and then I just grab a really, really light brown color and just kind of fill in any of spots that I left that are like little white spots. And that is how I colored her hair this time around. And in the end, I was really happy with how it came out. So I used E29, E37, E15, E06, and E33. See what I mean? They're kind of all over the place. Next, I'm bringing in some purples. These are going to be for her little hairband and her shirt. I'm using BV02 for my lightest. I'm using V25 for like my mid-tone and BV08 for my darkest. And that is definitely like way darker than the other colors. So you definitely have to kind of force the blend a little bit more. See my little hiccup there, I grabbed the wrong marker. Made a little bit of a dark line, but that's okay. When it dries out, it's really not that noticeable when you start to just blend it all out. So for her shirt, just going ahead and using those same purple markers. Sometimes that BV08 and the V25 don't want to blend too well, and you can use a tip-to-tip technique if you are in a pinch sometimes and you have two colors that don't really want to blend. I do not end up having to do that here because I didn't go too heavy-handed with that BV08. If it was a much bigger image, I probably would have wanted a heavier line along the outside edge, but if it's just a little tiny bit, you see like it blended okay. So going on to her pants, my B29 marker loves to pool on my paper. So I have to take both caps off when I use it. Otherwise, it will, I don't know, sometimes I've heard some people say like it burps and like all of a sudden you've got like this giant patch of ink on your project. That happened to my husband. He went to a coloring class with me, and when we were coloring, he's coloring in his little superhero image, and the marker did that, and he got this giant blue spot all over his image. He was not happy. So anyway, ever since then, I've noticed if the marker looks like it might be a little juicy, I'm definitely taking that top cap off, because that is a trick I learned at that coloring class. When that happens, if your marker is getting a little juicy on one end, open the other, take the other cap off, and it won't do that. Because that would be really sad if you got through your whole project and then had that happen. I did feel bad for him. All right, moving on. It was a little story. Don't know if anyone really... Anyway, so finishing up this image, I used greens for her little apron, and I'm using some cool grays here for her bowl. Now you do see two C1 caps. It should be, one of those should be C3, but I did not notice that my C1 and my C3 marker had a different cap at each end. So each one had a C1 and a C3. And I don't even pick that up here. Like I don't even notice. I do notice later on, when the caps are on the wrong marker and I grabbed the wrong one at a later project. But I did use the C1, the C3, and the C5, adding a little bit of sparkle to the bowl with some Wink of Stella. And then I decided to, hey, let's do some highlights. And then I decided, hey, let's not. Let's just see what happens. And I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut this image out. I do not believe that La La Land Crafts have dyes for these particular images, but what's really nice about a lot of their images is they are fairly easy to fussy cut. So I am going to finish fussy cutting her out, and then I'm going to be using a black Copic marker, the 100, just to edge all of the lines so that the white core from the cardstock doesn't show. It just kind of polishes off the image a little bit and just makes it look a little bit nicer, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. Anyway, thank you all so very, very much for joining me today. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, let me know. Do you like to see the coloring videos? And if you're not already, please, please, please support my channel and hit that subscribe button. I appreciate it so very much. So thank you again all so much for staying with me today. And until next time, have a great day. Bye.